You wanted to do the top five for the games?
Yeah, the one we missed out on last time. For you,
Oh
that's
man.
probably off the top of your head.
Well, I had to write it down. I was able to get like 10 off my head, and then it took a little work to break it down to five.
I have 9, and it took some time to whittle it down to 5. So I do have 4 honorable mentions. Whenever we
Yeah.
talk about that, yeah.
There's always those like one-off games that like don't get sequels, but just they were so fun. I was like, dang it, I gotta consider that one now.
That was a lot of mine for the people at home who are just starting to watch us. So, because I'll probably cut out that and throw that on what we were just talking about, throw that at the beginning, sorcerer. Because people like us to jump into these so they can put their downvotes in real quick because they don't like the idea that we want to remake movies. Okay,
No, no, never.
so yeah, that's our most downvoted video by now. So just to let you know. I did notice. I
What do you got?
know. Did you watch A Few Good Men edit?
I haven't watched it yet.
I can tell there's a lot of we got a lot of downvotes on that one too. But
Really?
a lot of people are only watching the first 10 seconds. So watch the first 10 seconds and you'll see. I cut something from the very end and put it at the beginning, and I think I just pissed off a lot of people right at the beginning. It's kind of funny.
Oh God, what did you put? What? Oh
You'll
God.
see. You'll see.
All right.
Yeah. It was both of us are guilty, so it's okay. But
Okay. Well, as long as it's both of us.
yeah, it's not just me this time. So
Okay. Cool.
being offensive. Yeah, so we're going to talk today about the top 5 non-RPG video games. Non-RPG games. So how do you classify an RPG game? Are you just talking about just JRPG for your list, or are you talking about anything with any
I
sort of
tried.
RPG elements?
I mean, I tried to keep it just to games that are classified as RPGs and JRPGs. Because I mean, you can look at Grand Theft Auto series. You could, if you wanted to argue that as an RPG. I guess
Well,
it's
I mean, in that case, I think you could argue that virtually every game is an RPG because you are taking on the role of a
right.
character.
That's kind of, I guess, to an extent, it's kind of a boring way to describe it. I guess the only way you can really do it is a game where you don't get to name your characters. Although even then, I think there's
Okay.
certain Final Fantasies where they don't give you a choice.
Yeah, I
Um,
think some of the recent ones I don't think you get to.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the ones that I picked, I'm pretty confident that no one will disagree. Well, someone will disagree. But I'm pretty confident that it'll be most people would agree that these are RPGs. I mean, because we know like all the well-known ones, like the Final Fantasy series, the Chrono
Right.
series, the Mana series, and even I would say games like Fire Emblem and Dragon Quest, which granted I never played, so maybe those are more closer RPGs than I realized. But even those seem like those are hardcore, like those are actually like real RPGs. I mean, there's games like anyone in like the sports series or like the Call of Duty style games. Those are obviously not, but I'm gonna
Yeah, but
assume
I
those
think it could mean like what's they have the manager series now. Like there's Football Manager where you manage like a soccer team. Like
are
I think
really.
you could probably argue, like are the Sims games, are those RPGs? Because you're kind of the manager of a town, or you're, in Sim Ant, you're the queen of a hive or of a nest, and you got to make your nest stronger and take on the other ants. I don't know. I mean,
I can't
that's
even get
kind
past
of
the
an
idea that
RPG?
like that exists.
But Sim Ant?
Yeah,
No,
you
Sim
battle
Ant's an
other
old
ants.
game. Yeah, that was a
Oh
game.
man,
That was a game from the 90s because yeah, we had that on our was it 386 computer. Yeah, back with
wow,
Windows. I don't even know if we had Windows 95 at the time. We might have, but
you're going
yeah,
you're going old school there.
that was very old school. Yeah, it was a fun game. That and Sim Farm. Yeah, me and my brother enjoyed both of those games quite a lot. So yeah, it's. I think there's an argument to be made that a lot of games are RPGs, and by default, maybe even the video
Mm.
games are RPGs to a certain extent because you are always a
Playing a role.
character. Yeah, you're playing some kind of character, but I tried to define it by things that didn't have to me, that one of the key elements of a RPG is the leveling up.
Hmm.
Um, that to me has always been an RPG. So I tried to not include anything that had that sort of thing. And in fact, the ones that I was kind of on the fence on, I put those as my honorable mentions. So I guess
Cool.
let's get into it. You want to get in? Do you have any honorable mentions? I have
Um,
four.
I have a couple. One of them I actually may be in the category you're putting, where like I wasn't sure if it was an RPG.
Right.
Um, Tony Hawk's Underground. I had that on the PS2.
Oh yeah,
Those
that's a great game.
those
Yeah.
oh yeah, all the games up until that were fun, but you can only play them for so long. But that one had an actual story. Um,
Yeah, it was
I do think
Underground 2, and then World Tour. Is that
I think
that was
so.
the trilogy, right?
I think so. I never
They kind
played.
of lost it on World Tour. I do remember that. I don't think it was as good, but
Yeah. Well, and I was actually looking up recently why, like, if there was a chance at the first one getting a remake, and apparently there's like some pro pro Russia stuff in it, so people are like, yeah, that's not getting remade anytime soon.
uh, I would
It's not like
consider it
hardcore.
because I mean, a lot of those guys aren't talking to each other anymore. Like Van Margera, I think was in that,
He
and
was
I
another
think
reason why they didn't think it would happen.
yeah, a lot of the Jackass guys were in it, and none of
Yeah,
them are really getting along with Bam anymore. There's some skaters that I think have bad blood with each other now. So
I think
yeah,
last I heard, Bam's possibly going to jail.
probably.
So, but that's sad for him. Um, Another one was another underground game, but it was Need for Speed Underground.
Okay.
I I played the crap out of that when I was probably in middle school, but
That that was
very
on
simple.
PS2 also, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I love my PS2 back in the day. And then one more would be Gex. I don't know if you ever played the Gex series at all. That was
Yeah,
primarily
that was
PS2.
the Gecko, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Geico lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
Um,
platformer, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was like I guess they call it like 2.5D because it wasn't quite 2D, but it wasn't 3D. Although I think he did have one 3D game on the N64. But yeah, it was a
Okay.
platformer.
Okay. It was
Real
like
simple.
Ratchet and Clank and those kind of games and Jackson
Yeah,
Dexter.
yeah, same idea.
Okay.
He basically would always he was the kind of character that would always be making like different quotes from movies and TV shows because the story was he was just this really lazy lizard who just watched TV all day, and then
Oh,
he
okay.
got sucked into this world somehow. It was a very they didn't put a lot of effort into the story, but it was still fun.
They never do. It's okay.
No, no, no,
What was the other one? There was is it Sly Raccoon? Was that another one kind of in that realm too?
no. Yeah, Sky Cooper, I think. Is that what you're thinking of?
Sky Cooper. That's it. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
played that one a little bit. Oh, he was fun.
Okay.
What about you? You got any honorable mentions?
Yeah, so my honorable mentions, first one is XCOM 2. So I think that one, I think it could very easily be argued that that's an RPG game, even though it's also an RTS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I love that game to death. Next one is the God of War remake from a few years ago. Again,
Nice.
there's definitely RPG elements with you leveling up and leveling up your son as your companion. Um, then the PS4 Spider-Man game. I've always been a fan of Spider-Man games, and it used to be the Spider-Man 2, I think was on PS2, I think was that game. That was by far one of the best Spider-Man games
Mm-hmm.
until this one came out. And that one, this latest one on PS4 which I haven't played I think there's one that's or one that's coming out now, and I didn't play the sequel on the PS4 that was the Miles Morales story. Um, and then my other honorable mention is Batman Arkham City. So I love that whole Batman series. But
Mm-hmm.
again, Spider-Man, Batman, they both have RPG elements where you're leveling up your character and you're growing skills and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
is it really RPG? I don't know. I
Nah.
think people could argue. So I don't think any other game on my list except for maybe people might argue with number one and number two, But they
I'll be
wouldn't
careful.
argue with the other three, so they'll
Yeah,
argue
yeah,
with all of mine. It's fine.
probably. I played Arkham Asylum and I loved that. I actually think I have Arkham Knight and Arkham City. I just haven't gotten to playing them yet.
Yeah,
But
I mean, they're all good, but Arkham City to me was a game that I really got sucked into.
mhm.
Really, had to do all the Riddler challenges, had to do all the DLCs, had to, played it in the plus mode, which I normally don't do in video games. I normally don't do that. So yeah, that's a really, really strong game. So if you haven't played it, I do recommend it. That's a lot of fun.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to get. I'm gonna have to get around to that.
So
Okay.
my number 5 is, I think it was on PS2 and 360. It's Burnout 3 Takedown.
Nice.
So I love arcade racers, kind of how you like Need for Speed Underground.
Hmm.
Um, this was a game all about wrecking your opponents, wrecking other cars. There was even a game mode in it where uh, there was a traffic jam and you had to cause the biggest amount of damage
Yeah.
by wrecking cars in the traffic jam.
Hmm.
It had this like aftertouch, I think is what they called it, where when you wrecked, you could slightly move the car around to cause more damage. Like if you wrecked in the middle of a race, you could aftertouch and move over if somebody was trying to swerve around you and actually cause them to wreck.
Right.
I love that game. Every sequential series, I think there's maybe only one or two after Burnout 3 in the Burnout series, but they
Hmm.
took out the crash mode, or like the traffic crash mode where you're causing a wreck inside of traffic intentionally. Um, and that was just so much fun. Like I could just lose myself for hours doing that. I don't know why, but um,
Hmm.
just trying to get those, a few more points and everything like that. Yeah, it was a hard game, but it was really fun. It was really good.
I think I played that. Did each like part of the car have like a certain percentage, and as you took damage, it went down?
No, that's Carmageddon.
Okay.
Carmageddon had that at least where, and I don't think Burnout did. Burnout 3 didn't. I don't know if other Burnout games did. I'm trying to think of other games that
Hmm.
did that percentage area. The only one I can think of is Carmageddon. That's a
Hmm.
pretty old game though. I would be surprised if you actually played that one. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But
I think
yeah.
that one sounds like it would be really enjoyable, like kind of like the Need for Speed Underground kind of
Yeah,
style.
it's very much arcadey racing like the Need for Speed series. There's not a lot of it's not a lot of car modding. You just get new cars. You unlock new cars. You don't really mod your cars at
Hmm.
all. So there's really like zero RPG element to it at all. So it's a
Gotcha.
fun game. All right,
Awesome.
what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Crash Bandicoot. Really,
Nice.
the first three as a whole. I played the first one was, I think the first one might have been the first game I had on PlayStation, and it made zero sense to me. But I lost hours of days and weeks just trying to get to the end of that game. It's another platformer that's an actual 3D platformer. Very simplistic storyline. Um, doesn't take itself too seriously, but just so much fun. All the levels are, you can play them over and over again. There's enough challenge to where it is hard, but it is beatable, so it's not like it's unfair. But you can't just kind of half-ass it. You got to really give it, really put in the effort. Um, Honestly, it's just what I look for in a game where I just want to kill an hour or two.
Right.
Just I can just have mindless fun. Um,
I don't think I ever
Characters, I mean,
played
are all
that
this.
series. I don't
What's that?
I don't think I ever played that series at all.
The ones that came, they had a remake that came out on the PS3. Those were significantly harder than the ones that were on PS1. Still fun,
Okay.
but just something about the originals were, in my opinion, were better. But I'm kind of that's just kind of how I am with any game series. I'll play Final Fantasy 1 again before I play 15 probably.
That makes sense. My number 4 is Half-Life, the first-person shooter. So it came out when I was in college, and I had the demo. Is all I had for the longest time. I couldn't scrape together the money to actually buy the PC version. So I just had the demo, and I played the demo like 50 times, just playing that one level over and over again. And it's one of my favorite shooters. I love the guns in it, or some of my favorite guns in a video game. I think in Half-Life 2 they made everything a little bit more futuristic, so it didn't feel like it was actual real guns. It's kind of my problem with a lot of the more recent Call of Duty games. But I love Half-Life. It's a great combination of action and horror, and sci-fi at the same time. That was probably the first game that I really got into and got into modding. There were tons of modded levels once I got the full game. There was a great one that was like a Heart of Darkness, where basically the mod it turned it into an Apocalypse Now like storyline. Really great. There's some amazing mods out there for that game. I loved it. I think it was the first video game that I got vertigo from, because there's a point where you're walking along a canyon, and if you look down, you can see how far down the canyon is. And it was the first game I ever played where I actually got like vertigo looking over, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. So it's a little bit older. I love Half-Life 2, love Portal, love all those games, but first Half-Life is very, very dear to my heart. Yeah.
Awesome. I remember. I still have not played those games. The only thing I really know about them is that there was this running gag online for years about Half-Life 3. Supposedly, it was finally announced, and just for years they would make that joke, which I didn't get it all, but I just kind of felt bad because I was like, dang, these fans must really want 3 to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been 20. God, that game came out I think in 99 or 2000. And we've had they did a VR version of it a few years ago when VR headsets came up, and then we have Half-Life 2 maybe about 10. I think that was on Xbox 360, so that's how long ago Fallout or Half-Life 2 came out. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty brutal for fans. If you're a fan of this game series, modding is necessary, because there's no other way you're going to get another version of the game. So.
I love watching mods.
Steam is making way too much money, with their online gaming store. They're not. I don't think they're interested in making another Half-Life, or Valve, I should say. Valve owns Steam, so that's who made Half-Life.
Well, sometimes it just sucks to be a fan.
Usually.
I think we've learned that all. We've all learned that.
Yeah, as a fan of The Flash, I just watched the Flash movie, so yeah.
That's coming up for me. I don't know when. Oof. I don't know when. We may watch it this weekend, because my wife loves the Flash from the
TV
CW series.
Right, Justin Grant or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's really good. He does a really good job. But she was already kind of bitter about Ezra Miller getting it. So, and the fact that he's just criminal in like so many ways doesn't really help the case.
Well, let's face it, I am pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, he does a good job, but I mean, Kevin Spacey also did a good job in a lot of things. So, I mean,
I mean,
it's still hard. It's still hard to watch them. Yeah.
One day we'll find out where the line is. It may be with whoever it is that plays Kang. That may be the line.
Yeah. I will say that there are some good nuggets in the movie. Like, it's not all crap, but yeah, there's some definitely rough moments in that.
The only thing I've seen is this scene where he's this. I don't even know how it happened, but somehow like 10, 15 babies are falling to the ground.
That's the opening. Yeah,
and
it's a little ridiculous.
Babies. That was the most unrealistic babies I've ever seen.
That's not the worst CGI in the movie.
I
Oh,
just couldn't believe it.
That's not the worst CGI in there by far. Yeah.
Just throw baby dolls. Like it's, I'll at least respect it then.
We're about to get off a tangent here. No, but they do something. Okay, at the very end of the movie, you know how movies now don't have an opening credit sequence, but then they'll
Right.
have a credit sequence before the actual credits roll.
Right.
So this movie does that, and when you watch that, you're like, they could have just made that the opening credits of the movie, and it would have been so much better. It would have kind of given you the right tone for what was going on in the movie. Maybe I don't know. They seem to put more effort into that final credit roll than they did into the original thing. It's just there's a lot more humor there. I really like that moment more than I like the babies falling itself. You'll understand when you watch the movie. There is a moment in there that I will say the final emotional beat of the film is actually shockingly well done and really delivered well. And I was like, oh, I got a little teary-eyed watching that moment. Like, it was really well done. But yeah, there's a lot of garbage in the movie. You got to wade through a lot of garbage to get to that nugget. Yeah.
Well, there we are.
So there's our flash review. All right, so what's your number 4?
We got 2 videos in one. My number 4 is Shovel Knight. This is the only one that I wasn't sure if you'd even heard of this one.
Yeah, I've played it.
It was made by a indie developer. I do not remember their name. It's basically just old school Mega Man, but a knight who's carrying a shovel instead of Mega Man.
Was it considered? It's considered a Metroidvania, right? Is it considered that a Metroidvania game?
I've never played that. I don't know what that is.
No, Metroidvania is a style of game.
Oh,
yeah,
similar to Metroid itself.
It's similar. Yeah, it's basically a lot of games that take their cues from Super Metroid and from Super Castlevania on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I'd say the way that the way you traverse through the levels, yeah, that's more Metroid. The battling is more Mega Man, I guess, where it would come from. Because you've got different bosses who are all just different variations of knights. And then it's a simple adventure game, cute story. You got to save Shield Knight, who's his girlfriend. They have all different variations of knights.
Okay.
It's just it's very well done, especially given the budget they had. And then they came out and they did various other ones where they had Spectre Knight, different bosses, kind of got their own side stories you could play through. There's a lot of gameplay there, despite the fact that the game actually can be beaten within, I want to say within 2.5 hours is the trophy. It's a short run, and obviously you've got to know the game in order to get through that fast. I think I got fairly close. I wasn't able to do it, and I wasn't gonna spend another 2.5 hours trying to do it again. But yeah, it was. It's a really addicting game. I think I've got it on my DS as well as my PS4. But it's definitely worth playing at least once, I think.
Okay.
It's simple enough to where it's going to be appealing to. It's not going to put off pretty much any kind of gamer, or even people who aren't really into gaming. Like my wife isn't big into it, but that's the kind that she would enjoy, I think.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I feel like I have played that once, but I don't really remember much about it. So my number 3 is Galaga. This is
definitely an RPG.
Yeah, definitely an RPG. So we have an arcade near our house where it's the kind of one where you just pay a flat fee. And you just go in and everything's on free play, all the pinball machines, all the arcades. Just a wonderful place That you go in there, they serve beer, so you get yourself a beer and then just go play video games. It's one of my favorite places. It's called Pinker's Revenge. Next time you're up here, maybe I'll take you up there.
I love that. That sounds awesome.
But without a doubt, like the go-to machine that I always go to is Galaga, and I always spend probably most of my time at Galaga. I'm not like amazing at it. I'm not, I don't have the high score on any machines, or anything like that. But I love that game to death. I've loved it since I first played it. I think the first time I played it was on a Nintendo, way back in the day. But even today, like there's just something so simple. You're on a 2D plane just shooting up, and that's it. I love that game so much.
It is a great game. I think out of that era of games, the arcade games, I think Pac-Man was probably my favorite. I know that's very.
I'm more of a Miss Pac-Man person, but yeah, a Pac-Man game would be the second cabinet I'd go to after Galaga. Yeah.
But Galaga was one of the best ones. It was so, I don't know, like it's so simple, and yet you could be stuck there for hours and not even realize it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yes.
That era of gaming was something special.
It was. It'll never be replicated.
No, you can't ever have that again. There's no way.
Nah.
These damn kids. All right, number 3 for me is Stray. I think this is by far the newest game on my list.
Yeah, I heard about that. I haven't played this one, but I know about it. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. Megan and I both finished it. You could probably argue it's maybe an RPG if you wanted. I don't think it is, but I guess if you want to role play a cat, I mean, there's already people doing that, so whatever.
You role play anything you want to be today. Yeah,
that's right. It's simple in nature. You're this cat, and you're basically like you start out with this group of cats, and somehow you end up separated, and you're in this city, and you basically just have to find your way home. But it's in this futuristic world where there are no humans. There are just these robots that have human emotion. They can think. They all are humans, just except for the fact that they're physically robots, but mentally they're completely human. They have these weird little alien things that'll try to kill you. It was actually a little shocking the first time because I had assumed you couldn't die, and then these things just bombarded my cat and just suffocated him or whatever it is they do to him. The story actually really draws you in once you actually take the time to explore the city, to learn all the characters, and the graphics themselves are gorgeous. They put so much effort into every minute detail of the game, even things that really don't matter. They like anywhere you look in the game, you can really see the detail and your ability to explore, and the way that they actually take advantage of just the cat being his size and what a cat could do. They really take advantage of that and really let you explore and just enjoy the world without having to be stuck with this certain path that you've got to take.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. I would like to play it one day.
It was good. For a while, we played it while it was free on PlayStation Plus. I think they took it away, and we're not going to be re-upping since they're raising the prices like $40.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting the Game Pass just so I can play Starfield, because you can play that. You can play it on cloud on your Xbox One, because I don't have an X or an S, so
right.
Might be the only way I can play it is through Game Pass. So instead of buying a new system altogether.
So I went ahead and watched the first 10 seconds. Honestly, I was imagining that we said something like horrible, and I was like, what did we say? But that was tame.
That was tame compared to some of the other things we said. Yeah, I guess. I guess maybe just Marines just don't like being called out. I don't know.
No, honestly, Marines can handle a joke. Who probably downloaded it are people who've never served in any capacity and are just hyper defensive of just anything American.
Right. Yeah.
If you make that joke to any Marine, they're just gonna laugh and probably talk some crap back, but that's it. They don't.
Right. Well, it's good to know that we probably got downvoted by MTG. That makes me feel good.
She is waging a war on our very special brand
we're doing something right if that's who hates our videos. So all right. My number 2 is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. So this is the one that was on the Super Nintendo. This is kind of my first exposure to Zelda. I'd played a little bit of the ones on the Nintendo, but I think I was a kid. I didn't really get those games. I didn't really connect to them. But something about this game, and I remember watching my brother play it a lot. This game just really captured me. You know, and I really liked. What was the first one on the Super Nintendo? Not Majora's Mask. The other one. I can't think of the name of it right
You
now.
talking about on the N64?
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I love that one, and then I loved Wind Waker. So I really got into those 3, but this one's kind of my origin of my love, and probably the one I've played through. I've played through this one multiple times. Really enjoy it. I think the last time I played through it, I didn't. I just went through and started like unlocking weapons and didn't even bother doing the boss battles, and then just went through and just did a clean sweep of the game in inside of like 2 or 3 hours. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, so I love this game. Obviously, I think some people, because it's fantasy and you collect weapons and you collect more hearts, maybe somebody could say it's a RPG, but nah, I don't. It's not really. So
I don't think so. I wouldn't call it one, only because I think there's a couple of games that are an exception, but for the most part, you are always Link. Like Link is the character. You're just controlling Link. Like if you're going to call these games RPGs, and it's not much of a more of a stretch to call anything with Mario in it an RPG.
yeah, I think some of the newer ones, you know, even Wind Waker has a lot more RPG elements, and I think
Right.
and
Certain ones will.
probably those newest ones that are on the Switch. I think the way people talk about those, I think those have a lot of RPG elements. But yeah,
I played the first one on the Switch. I'm blanking on the name, but the really wide open world one that a lot of people love. I could see that it's an RPG in the way that like Fallout would be.
right. Well, I consider Fallout to be an RPG. So
I do too, but it has a few less elements. I don't remember the leveling system. I don't think there's one in that Zelda. There may be, but I don't think there is. I didn't play it enough to remember.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah. Well, that is a great game. I'm not going to comment too much on my preference for now. We'll save that.
What's your
Link to
number
the Past
2?
was great. I remember playing that at your house a lot. I didn't get very far ever. I don't think
No,
I ever
it's a game you got to invest some time into. It's got a long opening.
It does.
You got to get past the intro to really get into the game. And then it's really, I don't know, the way they put barriers in your place, and you have to you have to go unlock weapons to get past barriers and beat bosses. I love that whole game mechanic, and it's something that I think, you know, my number 1 pick does even more so, and I think a lot of modern games really borrow from that. So good modern games, I should say, borrow from that. So
well, yeah, of course.
yeah.
My number 2 is Last of Us.
Okay.
It came out on, I think it came out on Xbox as well, but I played it on the PS3.
No, I think it's a PlayStation exclusive.
Is it? Okay. It's one of the best zombie games I've seen in a while because it makes the zombies matter, but they're not the primary focus. The entire world and the story of the main character, it's a wonderful story. You're basically taking this little girl and you're basically trying to save her. You don't know why. You're just told, hey, she needs to. It's a little basic at first, like she needs to get to the lab. It's like, all right, so you go on this journey, but they really delve into who these characters are, what makes them tick. really strategic moments of gameplay, and then there's really action-packed moments of gameplay. There's puzzles. It's kind of got a little bit of everything, but it was one that I beat it fast because I put a solid 20 hours into it within like 4 days. I could not put it down. I've replayed it several times. I just love this game.
I think I replayed it twice. I'm trying to remember, well, I don't know now because I don't know if I like the game or the television show more, and that's why I didn't make my list even as an honorable mention because I think the television show for some reason I just enjoyed that more. I think it was
I
done
haven't
better.
watched the show yet.
It was amazing. It was really,
I heard they
really
did the game
amazing.
a lot of justice, so I need to watch it at some point.
They did, and I mean they did the characters justice, which I think
That's
is the more appropriate thing. So, yeah, and I never played number two. I need to play that one. So
nice. I haven't played two either. I remember I was just put off because all I saw was that it was not the sequel that people wanted.
right.
And then there was apparently a lot of controversy, which I don't know. I don't care about that.
The one thing I heard about it is that the entire gameplay you're going through and you're killing people. Like that's like the gameplay, right? You're just murdering henchmen to get past them, otherwise they're going to murder you, right? And then you get to the final boss and you decide to let them live because murder isn't the way. But you've already murdered like 90 people in this game, and it's just like this real like disconnect between
what's happening.
And so that was the criticism I heard, and I've seen that in a lot of other games, and that always really annoyed me. So that was one of the reasons why I put off playing it. So,
I don't know. What are you gonna do?
because I mean, like you can have a game where everything's peaceful and you're not murdering anybody, and that's kind of the purpose of the game. That's fine, but don't make a murder game about being peaceful. Like,
right.
Or make it an interesting twist. I don't know.
Right.
Like the first Last of Us, I think that had some elements of that, but yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was a great twist.
And there was much rejoicing.
So my number one is Super Metroid.
Nice.
It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. I love this game. This is a game that I love the mechanics of it. I love the gameplay. I love the way your character gets built up by getting new weapons and uncovering things and all the secrets you can unlock. The boss battles are very challenging. Like I think as when I was younger, like I don't want to say I think I was still a teenager, but I had a hard time with it. And nowadays, like I can actually handle this game now. There's definitely a skill level in this game. It's not I don't want to say it's like a Metro or not Metro. It's not a Mega Man type game where like even today I still can't beat a Mega Man game. I'm still not that good of a gamer, but yeah. So I like the difficulty, but how it does get easier over time. I love. I mean, I just love the gameplay so much. I even love the Game Boy Advance versions. That kind of copy this style. I think it's Zero Mission and Fusion, I think are those two games. I love those two games too. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, asking if Shovel Knight was a Metroidvania game. Pretty much anything that's like in this kind of style, like I will pick up and try. Even if it's a roguelike, and I'm not a huge fan of roguelike games, but I'll even try those if it's in this style. So yeah, so I love this game. I've played a little bit of the first one on NES. This is another one where like Super Nintendo really kind of like gave me a love for a lot of games that I couldn't really get into on NES back in the day. So this is another one just like Zelda where it took the Super Nintendo to really unlock my love of the games. So
nice. I did not play that one. I played the first Metroid, and I played what was on the old Game Boy, like the the big gray block, like a Kill Man.
Yeah.
I played Metroid 2.
Yep.
And as a 4-year-old, I was lost. I don't know what I was doing. I was very confused about it. Was Super Metroid, was that the one where they revealed that she was a woman?
I feel like that was in the first game.
Was the first game? Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember at some point hearing about that, and it was like everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, Samus is a woman," or whatever. And I was like, "Who cares?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big deal at the time because, yeah, again, that was kind of exceptional at the time. There were no female protagonists in video games
Sure.
back then. So I mean, it was a big deal back then. It probably shouldn't have been. And
it was just for me being a 9-year-old or 8-year-old.
oh no, I mean, I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? There's a female in a game? And
Right.
it was shortly after that I first heard about Laura Croft and things like that, and it slowly became not a big deal at all. But yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I think Laura Croft was famous for teen boys for different reasons, but that's not the here nor there.
Yeah, I was a teen boy. Yeah, I can confirm.
Thank you,
Pervy teen boys. Yes, that's what we liked. Yes.
That's one thing that never changes. Teen boys.
Yeah. No, it was the puzzles. That's why I played that game. Yeah.
I play the game for the hot wings. So my number one is Ocarina of Time, also the Legend of Zelda game. Yes. That was one of the first games that I actually beat full, like beginning to end. I've played that game I've beaten it on Switch, I've beaten it on TS, I've beaten it on N64, I've beaten that game so many times. It has some of the most beautiful music to this day that I've still heard in the game. I'd say the graphics, given what they still hold up, given just the system they were made on. Like obviously,
100%.
obviously they're nothing compared to modern day graphics, but they're still beautiful to look at, given the context. And it really the game expanded what the world of Zelda was at that time. It was so much bigger, so much more to explore. It added so much more to the world. I really enjoyed the sequel, Majora's Mask. I know there's a lot of debate on whether or not that's an actual sequel or not, because there's like people who think it's like him in purgatory, or it's like a split off world, depending on when which that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I never got into that.
It's
each game is the same person and also a completely different world. Like that's how I've always taken it. Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't matter, but it gives people something to talk about, so they talk about it.
It's like the James Bond movies. It's okay that they're not canonical. They don't have to be. Right. It's okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that game, and to my knowledge, that's one of the most popular games on that system.
Definitely. I'm trying to think if there was another. I mean, Mario 64 was huge.
Mario 64 was huge. Donkey Kong Country was huge.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of games on there. I mean, probably GoldenEye, maybe.
Superman 64, of course.
Oh yeah, that's probably the best game. That's one of the best games ever. Until they came out with the Aquaman game on the GameCube. That may be the best game ever. So.
Oh yeah. Classics. Doing the DC verse right before HBO Max.
Wow. Yeah.
We'll just never get good DC stuff, will we? Besides Batman, we'll never get good DC stuff.
Hey, Peacemaker was great.
I still haven't seen that. Was it good?
Yeah. Peacemaker was great. The James Gunn Suicide Squad, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
It was a lot of fun.
No, but I mean, it was good. Like it was good fun. It was like you don't feel guilty for enjoying it.
Was James Gunn the first one or the second one?
He was the first one. That was David Ayers was the second one, and there's we might have to do a video on that. There's a complicated history there. That one's a very, very interesting movie about, it says that one gave, whenever you started hearing a lot about the behind the scenes stuff, that gave a really interesting insight to these giant comic book movies in general. and
Mhm.
and really how like DC and Marvel work. Like you kind of understood that.
I'm open to that.
Especially DC, because DC was just trying to play catch up at the time, and they were just trying to throw whatever they thought would against the wall would stick. So yeah.
Right. I would be completely open to that. But
Yeah, we don't really.
I
Yeah,
guess
we haven't really done like really bad movies. So that would be good too to like talk about like a truly like just bad movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the first one was fun. It was fine.
No, it
And
wasn't. The second one wasn't. The second one was fine. The first one was not. No.
no, fun. The first one was fun.
Oh, I don't even think that. But okay.
The first Suicide Squad.
Right. Yeah, the one with Will Smith. Yeah. No.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I don't think that one was good. I think it would be worth a we could cover, but no, it wasn't
Not
good.
good, but fun.
Oh
Like
no, I won't even say it's fun. No.
you would.
No, I
Okay,
refuse to. No.
that's fine. Um, but yeah. So that yeah, I think and Ocarina of Time, it's probably one of my favorite games. Period. It's really good. I don't know where I would put it on whatever list, but that's a game I can always go back and play.
No, I think especially my top two, or probably would be my top two video games of all time. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And one more honorable mention, just
Sure.
because I feel like if you haven't played this game, you need to. Bully. Did you ever play Bully?
Yeah,
Basically, the PG-13 version of Grand Theft Auto.
yeah. That was a very interesting game when it came out. Yes.
It was. They
Yeah.
that game surprisingly I think had more controversy than Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. The only other game I remember having more controversy, I don't. Was it a Rockstar game? Was Manhunt, which I'm not
Yeah,
sure if that was a Rockstar game.
I
Which I
think it
think
is.
that's the only game I've ever played where I felt legitimately guilty and bad.
Yeah,
Like, because I
you
think
know
like
Manhunt 2 was even worse, right?
I never played it because I played Manhunt 1 and it was just like I mean like I've played violent video games, but like taking like a plastic bag and choking someone to death with it and then like shivving them, like I was like, this is
I
even
never
on those
played it.
PS2 graphics, that was
Yeah, it's
I
so bad.
remember I think we rented it when I was in college and I played through the first level and I would just like put down the controller and I was like somebody else can play this. I can't do this game anymore. Like it was
Right.
just it just unnerved me. Which maybe that was the point. I'm not entirely
I think
sure.
it was. I don't think they were going for depth there. I
No.
I never played it, but I watched like scenes online. Um, and I watched someone. There was some guy I was watching on YouTube. He was talking about like famous band games and Manhunt 2, and they tried to put like a real story in there, and it's worse in every way. It's just worse than Manhunt. It's so
Yeah, and
vile.
it's really weird because like Manhunt, the idea behind it and what it is, like if that was a movie, I would 100% be on board. That's like right up my it's a horror movie. It's violent. It would be like Roger Corman-esque,
Right.
like cheaply made. Like that would be right up my alley. But
Once you're controlling it, then you have a problem.
exactly, that really became it. I was like, I can't do this.
Oh man.
Yeah, the verisimilitude became a bit too much on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Rockstar. They are who they are. That's no
Yeah.
one can say that they don't try to.
I mean, hey, maybe they had to make that to make RDR2. I mean, that's
True.
fine. I mean, if that's what it took, I'm fine with that. So.
That is entirely possible. You gotta give something to get some.
And there was much rejoicing